Hello there everybody and welcome back to episode 16 of my tutorial series for Factorio. So today we have great things on our mind, and that's more mining outposts. So our factory so far does quite well, but it suffers from a terrible shortage of materials. I've taken the liberty to gun away all the spider nests around that in your absence, because I figured that this patch here is easier to plug in than this one. Also, the nests happen to be smaller around there, and I found that a pretty nice venue. We're going to start, though, today with the iron ore patch. We're not going to process oil today, as, well, it is somewhere else on my priority list, that's all. Currently, we are suffering from one really huge problem, and that's a severe drought of iron ore in particular. As we are currently more and more depleting the natural resources around here, our steel mill is at a pitiful amount of iron ore, and our regular iron mill is so too, so we just need to do something about that. Our copper ore patch is a little bit more resilient than the other one, to my big surprise, but this is also pretty finite, and eventually we will run dry on that end too. Our little burner mining drills, on the other hand, are doing their job just fine. Now, I also did realize that the other day I did a bit of a whoopsie here and forgot to make wagons. I'm very sorry. I fixed that. The wagons are made of all the parts that we already got here. I just made a gear wheel assembler to fill the blanks. But you can already see here quite decently our steel production is on such a low point that we really struggle with pretty much everything. So let's fix that. Today we're therefore going to go into the art of further away mining outposts and into the art of big, big mining out ore patches. That's the word. Because this is by far, I think, the hugest ore patch that we had so far. So before we go into this adventure, we really should empty our pockets. I can't stress out how important it is to empty out your pockets before you go for something like that. So let's dump a few things into the machines. We can also redeploy things back into this area here. As you can see here, we don't need these right now, so we're redeploying them. Alright, so the biggest glitch in our current setup is a big lack of ammunition. I really want to fix up that problem as the very next thing, because right now we really suffer from this ammunition lack all over the board. We really have a lot of trouble because of just that. So steel and copper will fix the problem. While our stone train is just doing its thing fine, and obviously the defense network here is not under any stress, we need to put now up a iron line as well. Good part about that is we can facilitate a very easy and quick pathway over there. And I'm also going to introduce a new way of railway, or well, that's a wrong term. Well, I'm going to show you how you can make your trains drive without those loopings. I'm staggering because I just realized, there's my hand grenades. I didn't want to believe that my hand grenades were not available for me. By the way, I researched stronger explosives to get to this point. I highly recommend you to do so as well, as stronger explosives, yeah, you see, it's just such a big difference whether you just have to lob one grenade or two. So, here we have one huge ore patch. This is the biggest ore patch that we have accessed so far. There's another one back right next to it, which means our needs of iron are more than fulfilled at this end. The thing here is, for the very first time now, we have to think about how do we start that job. So you first get to decide whether you want to do the miners in a horizontal approach, that would be this direction, or vertical, that would be this direction. It really depends on the shape of the ore patch and your own liking, but we're going to do something like this, for example. Here we're grabbing all the last bit of ore. Now I'm going over to the next part, next line. So just like that. And well, you might have already guessed it. We're continuing now like that. I'll leave one blank line here because that's making later the power distribution a lot easier. But now, well, it's all plotting down mining machines. And as you see there, this is quite a big one here. And once we're done with that, I get to talk about the other problem that this brings up. So here we are good at that point. Because as you see there, I have already... I am not carrying around enough mining machines for this entire patch currently. This is 70-something mining machines. So here's the deal. These will produce 36 units of iron ore in a grand total. This is more than our logistics belts can currently transport. Our best belts have a current capacity of 30 items, and therefore you will need to cluster these at some point. So we're going to say that this one might be a cluster, or we're ideally gonna put that one up as a cluster. Yeah, let's use that. The thing here is now that this belt here is now 35 units of ore per second. This is actually more than our red belt can carry, but I don't care at that point. Why? Because ultimately some of these machines will deplete, and if I provide a grand total of 35 ore, I don't need to... Oh, that was the wrong direction. I don't need to replace the... or put new mining machines up there that fast, if you get my idea. Because we... now what? Sorry, I can't put up belts or reverse the direction of belts with and talk at the same time. Somehow pretzels up my brain in the wrong way. I don't know why. So, what I was trying to get down to is it just increases the longevity of this patch a little bit, as we can now safely lose 10 mining machines off of this cluster here and have still the same throughput of 30 pieces of ore per second. And that is not a bad thing at all. Alright, so let's move that over here. So now we need to decide where we will transport that stuff away. I think I want to have my rail transportation system run along some line like that. Here we're going for a very, very simple approach. Straight line. We are not going to use loopings, and to alleviate the problem that our train would have an issue with turning, we are going to use a double-headed train. So one locomotive goes that end, then we put in the wagon or wagons. In this scenario, we only put one wagon, could put in more, and now we press R to rotate the engine, and now we have this. Now I fill both engines with coal. And now all that's left to do for us is set up the loading station. Of course, this is a very minimalistic approach. We should definitely try to upgrade that system as soon as we can. But as I keep saying, I love my simplistic approaches, as it gives you a good idea of how the game is supposed to work. So here we're now going to put in some gate on top of this. It's another little advantage. And now our train can be safely loaded inside of the safety of our fortifications, and then just drive through the gate. If you are trying to put a gate on top of a curve, that doesn't work. Oh, we're making this way too narrow at that point. This is not a good idea. We need to have enough room for our gun belt. This is also a little bit narrow. Too narrow. Too bad. So yeah, keep in mind that whenever you build fortifications, you want to cram in your defense lines, and well, that should be respected. And you haven't played Factorio if you haven't replaced and ripped out an entire line of building only because it was one grid off. You don't play Factorio if you have not at least experienced that a single time. Seriously. It's a very regular occurrence and nobody is able to foresee his builds so well that it doesn't ever happen to you. So don't feel bad if it happens. So we're measuring from that point here. And basically I'm just expanding my fortress here a little more. There we go. Sadly, everything you own must be enclosed in walls, one way or another. But you can, of course, foresee where the biters will attack. As we can, for example, now clearly see that no pollution is touching this direction so far, so no attacks from these directions will occur. We will produce a ton of pollution, though, when we start firing up these mining machines, so we better start working on some defenses here. So tell you what, we're not going to leave the locomotive here. We're just going to have that here. I don't know if I have gimped myself now with the... Nope, works just fine. We are putting down the train station right away there, and then we obviously need to this as the white box here. The first white box is the engine, the second white box will be the cargo wagon. So we could easily expand that to a second cargo wagon, but then the second engine would peep out of the door. But it wouldn't be any problem. It's a sandbox game, and there's so much you can do in this game. It's insane. Hello, car. Hey, you know what, car? We're going to pick you up. Otherwise, I'll be forgetting about that guy. So, we're today not going to cross our railway in any way. You don't need to have any complex rail interactions if you don't want to. You just need to build accordingly. But if you are heading for larger railway complexes, you're obviously bound to use railway signaling eventually. But since a lot of people out there are struggling with railway signaling, me myself included until this very day, I have derived many ways and methods that you can work with trains without any signaling. And we're going to cover signaling, of course, as well, because, you know, it is very important to understand it, but it is also very important for me to showcase that your regular game experience for launching a rocket, well, you can easily do that without having any complex train network at all, and still use the trains, because they are just gosh darn good at transporting stuff over longer areas. Alright, so we're going to go and let our train maybe something like that. You have to design, obviously, a spot where the train can be unloaded well, and I think this is a pretty decent spot. We can now then let the train be unloaded there, left or right side, I haven't decided yet, and then we can redistribute the ore accordingly. Alright, so now we're going to place down another train stop. So it is obvious that we need to see that the side is deciding the direction that the train drives. Always place down the station according to your driving direction, obviously. Okay, so we now got that. Let's see if I... well, we're doing this with one wagon. Why not? Obviously, you can include more wagons if you want to. The more wagons you got, the longer the whole train will require until it is loaded, and the more stuff it will carry. Although you can see here, a single train has a lot of carrying capacity. Okay, so the last thing we are missing right now is an automated refueling system, so that should be something we should consider here as well. So let's see. We can just casually pipe off some coal from somewhere. Let's take this. Because every train system does require eventually refueling. This is something that you need to put into your planning. Otherwise, it won't work properly. Here are big power poles, a little bit on the complicated side. And obviously, if you're doing a double-headed train, you do also need to make a double-headed refuel. That's goes without saying, I suppose. So that is one difference between one system and another. But the cool part about this is, I'm going to showcase it in a second, don't you worry, is that you now have a train that does not require this this looping. There we go. So let's enter the train as it's being fueled now, and we add the station. So these two stations, and you can already see that we can't add stations that are physically inaccessible from our current position, so no problem with that. So let's see, am I sitting in my choo-choo? Yes, I am. So we flick the switch on automatic, and now we can see, and I strongly recommend you to do so, test your tracks. It's a really good thing. Meanwhile, we're upgrading our ammunitions. And this is much faster than any conveyor belt possibly can provide. It also kills any biters that are sitting on top of that. And as you see, we're just bouncing back and forth, with the engine now active on this, for this track being that one. It's amazing. I love that one. So let's flick off the manual controls, and whoopsie, we want to go that way. So you can also manually go for that one. We are going to set up obviously an automatic for that as well. So this is one thing that we need to just realize that I really should have been. Thanks, train. I wanted to get that way anyways, but not right now. You see that as a pretty nifty system also that you can use for yourself to quickly reach one point or another in your factory. At some points, it is really nice to hitch a train when you know that you want to go for that mining outpost or something like that. But we're going to need to pick up more mining machines. So the real problem or the real challenge with mining outposts of this size is that you now need to cluster your production accordingly. And that can be sometimes a little bit annoying, but well, all in all, that one's empty. It's not that hard to grasp, I think. But I want to complete my work here, so we're picking up the electric mining drills that we didn't pick up. Let's check back that our automated defense systems are working properly, and yeah. So with that kind of setup, we can now easily acquire whatever resources we want to acquire. And the wonderful part about that is, it isn't too hard to derive a system that doesn't cross itself, but we're going to talk about crossings and train crossings eventually. That is no problem at all either. But, well, I found it, to me, at first, massively overwhelming to understand the rail signaling system of Factorio. And, you know, it's a shame, because I didn't use trains for the first 1,000 hours of my gameplay time because I felt so terribly overwhelmed. Yeah, that's that. And I hope this helps you to feel less overwhelmed by the whole topic. Now, let's sequence the rest of these guys up. The wonderful part about this whole operation here is that this iron patch is so massive that we can easily feed our entire factory and then some. So we will have enough production to facilitate an entire smelter column of iron and an entire smelter column of steel at the same time. And this is totally what we need to get towards to, because otherwise, geez, that's still not enough miners. Boy. Anyways, because that's what we need in the later stages of the game. So here we have now a grand total of 52 mining machines plugged in. When we are completed with that task, it will be a little bit more. So basically, you could now attach another cargo wagon there and have a similar one like this running here. I'm lacking the tools, but for demonstration's sake, I'll take the yellow one. We all know that you shouldn't, though. So you'd have one here, and then we... obviously, I need to realign my loading bay and grand total now that I see how it sucks. But we could then attach that second build originating from the second area there again, which would lead us to a grand total of 60 iron ore per second that we could stuff into these into the cargo wagon, which is, in all honesty, a pretty amazing amount. So we totally can get ourselves somewhere with that. And now I know what I've forgotten. It's been gun turrets. There's always something you'll forget, by the way. But the good part is, the better you connect your factory logistics-wise like that, the less of a chore it becomes to travel from one spot to another, as you see. And as you see also, once this stone deposit is depleted, drove away right now, we can easily link up the next one. So these trains, they really pay off in the long run. You really get a lot of opportunity to also expand on these rail networks. And that is, to me personally, the big advantage of this whole system. So for today, we're going to leave it a little bit like that. So the unloading will happen on that side. And eventually, we will be using stack inserters. These are currently not available, as red circuits are not available right now, as we don't have plastic available. Soon as we have that, we're going to use the better capacity inserters, which are capable of unloading the entire thing there. Also, your unloading stations can be a little bit optimized as well, but more about that in a second. So now we need to defend that joint back there, and that is, yeah, one task that we've been doing quite a lot lately. But this is also something that you sadly need to get used to. We're going to go and craft ourselves flamethrower turrets very soonish, but right now, well, we are so low in steel production that I'm not able to do so. Flamethrower turrets would be amazing insofar as they are shooting pure oil to inflict damage, which is really cool because that is basically a unending resource for you. So here, as you see, we need to put the burner mining drill to another crazy task there, as there is another little smidge of copper still hanging out, and I think this depicts pretty much the nightmare of ore patch separation operations. It is finicky, it is possible, but most of the time you would be off with way less work if you'd be just ignoring the patch altogether and go elsewhere. Now, let's pick up our gun turrets. Oh, I also expanded our power production here a little bit. Let's get back to our gun turret factory. As soon as I find it. Jeez, it's standing right next to it. And, well, I want to draw quickly now, though, how we're going to continue with that. So, this iron patch here is soon going to be depleted, but that it will take a while. Let's see what we got here. From time to time, I like to go back to my mining districts and crop them a bit. As you see there, this is just, well, only 14 mining machines. That's 7 ore per second. It's really not, it's a really, really low amount. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have forgotten that we need red undergrounds. Sorry. There's always something. You will get used to that. We definitely need to upgrade our red red transportation system eventually. But we are also very close to a major breakthrough in terms of Factorio efficiency, as we are right now, well, about to, what it, increase our efficiency by a massive magnitude. Yes, I think this is the best way to put it. Alright, so we're going to make it like that. And obviously we need to go for one underground belt because of the... Look at that. And now it goes like this. Oh, whoopsie. Sorry, train stop. And we're going to require one fast splitter. And then we're going to put these pieces together as soon as we're done with handcrafting. As you see there, handcrafting stays relevant, but it is always sort of a nightmare. And then we're going to pipe that stuff in like that. I'm going to use, at this point, a regular splitter yet again to make sure that all the stuff that our train inserts is going to be mixed with the output of the old place there. And then we're going to go this way. And we obviously need to set up a proper steel smelting facility, as this one is relatively measly. Alright, but for the sake of the demonstration, we're going to draw it like that, because I want to keep my old system at least functional, so that's what we're aiming towards too. Navigating around the cliff. And this is where we want to get to. So we're using now this thing like that. Oh, whoopsie, that won't work. Let's do it like that instead. Alright, so I just realized that we could have split from here up into a red belt system, actually. So, yeah, it could have been a yellow belt, sorry. Words. This could have been a yellow belt as well, if you'd wanted to. Doesn't really make that much of a difference, because we're not going to utilize the full bandwidth of that thing. So, we're going to make that yellow, yes. Alright, but as soon as we have now piped that stuff from the train to our facility, our iron input will be then no longer be at risk at all, which is exactly what we wanted to get ourselves towards to. There we go. The only thing I don't have right now is the proper defense system, which is sort of a shame, and we need to repeat that entire process on this end of the line as well. I'm going to put up a effective train network from here to there, just a very short one, and I'm going to do these things off camera because, well, we all know how putting the ammunition belt system together looks like, and what you have learned here now is pretty much what you need for all mining outposts in total. I will talk a little bit more about the unloading spots in future, so that is a topic where we have a lot of room for improvement. But yeah, you get the idea. So I'm going to continue my work on that end on the offline side, and I hope you guys enjoyed. We're going to continue next episode with the oil processing, and, well, I don't know if I'm going to set up the smelters off camera or not. Haven't fully decided yet, but we also need to up our smelting game. Anyways, thanks for watching, you all. It's been my pleasure. See you all next time, and you know the drill. Leave a comment, leave a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and check out the description box for the playlist. If you're new to this, there's an entire playlist for this series. See you all next time. Bye bye.